you raised a point that I raised my eyebrows out a bit or a little while ago now in talking about a man's devotion to a woman.
Mhm.
And you tied it inherently with exclusivity to a singular woman.
Mhm.
And that's an interesting point to raise because I think men and women are very different. And I think devotion can look very different from man to woman and from woman to man. And perhaps exclusivity isn't necessarily inherently tied for a man to be devoted to a woman. And I think that there's cultures that exist that demonstrate this very successfully, where perhaps there is a man and he has several women. He loves and cares for and honors each of them. And it's a wonderful, harmonious kind of existence. These kind of things can look different in different capacities. Perhaps they're all in one household, perhaps there's different households, but I'm interested to explore what you think of the concept of polygyny is the name of it, but
Sure.
men having separate or different or multiple partners.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic question. So if I go back to what we deem or what I deem as the rock is the foundation, then look at the empirical data that supports it. Empirical data, research, data, whatever the case may be, is when I see a man who is distracted with anything, squirrel, you know, oh, when he is distracted, when he lacks focus, when he lacks precision, that is what we refer to as a man who lacks purpose. So whether it's a woman or women, whether it's video games, whether it's marijuana, whether it's alcohol, whether it's busyness, whether it's climbing the corporate ladder, those all can serve, from our perspective, as a distraction. We believe that there is singular focus. Now, it doesn't mean that when a man is growing a business that he needs to pay attention to multiple facets of the business. But ideally, he's only focused on one. And that's his focus. He finds individuals who can fulfill or who are much smarter in those capacities of his business ventures that can do those jobs better. So his singular focus is on this. For example, me in my business, I'm the CEO. I am increasingly working hard to find who's to do the what's rather than me. So I am moving into a space where I'm releasing 80% of what I do during the day, 80%, and only focus on 20%. Now, what's that 20%? 20% includes what you and I are doing right now. Having conversations, networking, growing, expanding, coaching, sharpening, creating content. The very essence of what we're bringing to the world. I am the primary masculine penetrator that gets out into the world and says, this is what we are doing. This is how we help men, women, and couples. That is my singular focus. So if I then am going to exchange that for something else in my life, which is perhaps multiple women, from our perspective, I cannot be focused by splitting that focus. Something's going to degrade.
I respect that. Yeah, yep. I respect that. And I think it's essentially probably the most common iteration, at least within our Western world, that when a man is specifically, to use the word, chasing or even juggling or having, these are all kind of flaky words themselves, multiple women, that man is usually not focusing on fulfilling himself as a man. You're not necessarily outlawing or demonizing the concept, but in common practice, it probably or perhaps usually or often doesn't doesn't work and isn't really a man operating in alignment. Is that kind of
Absolutely.
fair enough?
Yeah. So if I believe that my devotion unto my wife is aligned with my devotion unto my purpose, it's all aligned. My devotion. Now it's interesting. I have 3 children. So how does that work? I am devoted to lots of people, but I'm devoted to them specifically. But I'm not distracted by the boundaries that I set. An important concept in our boundaries work with clients is that we have to understand who comes first. So who comes first in life? This is what we ask. Most people, when they first come to us, they're like, well, my wife, my husband, my children, my family, etc. Exactly. Exactly. So when we are devoted toward ourselves first, we can then pour from a full cup rather than an empty one. So my devotion first comes to me. I choose me. Paige doesn't come first. My wife does not come first. And she feels the same. In fact, that's why I choose her every day, is because she chooses herself first, which is so counterintuitive to so much of romance and Hallmark cards and rom-coms and, oh, he completes me. That's called codependency, Tom Cruise. Right? It sure sounded good when he said it in Jerry Maguire, but it's woundedness. So my devotion, my precision is for me first, then my wife, then my children, then my business. So I'm singularly focused. I know precisely who I'm focused on right now. Right now, it's you. I am singularly focused on you in this conversation. I have all kinds of things going on around me right now that could distract me from being fully present with you. Why do I want to be fully present with you? Because I want to be fully present with me. I want that for me. That's devotion. And then you're next. So if I'm fully present with me, if I'm fully engaged, eye contact, I'm listening to every word that you say. So then I can intelligently answer your questions. So we can intelligently dialogue. But if I'm distracted by other things that are going on around me, it is a disservice first to me and then to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we can only pour in effectively one bucket at a time. And I think we need to be aware of how much we have the capacity to pour and only take on as many buckets as we truly have the capacity to properly fill and attend to. If you enjoyed this clip, click the link in the description to watch my full conversation with David. He's a fantastic guy, and we have a great conversation about trauma, healing, masculinity, femininity, society at large, relationships, and how we can live a good, healthy, and fulfilled life as men or as women. It's a great conversation. You don't want to miss it. Click the link below.